There's a heaviness in my chest.
Mm-hmm. Let's focus in on that heaviness in the chest, just bringing your awareness. As you focus on that energy, if you could give it a color, what color would it be?
Feels like a weird, like muddy green or an orange, like a muddy green orange.
Mm-hmm. And if that energy could speak, what would it say?
This is weird. I just heard something say, "You finally found me."
Let's allow this consciousness to begin to speak with us today, just allowing it to move up to the throat, bringing it up, up, up. And as this consciousness moves to the throat, who is this consciousness that I'm speaking with? Do you have a name?
I don't have a name.
Have you ever had a body before?
Yes.
When's the last time that you remember having a body? What year was it for you?
I don't know of years.
How did you lose your body?
It was just time for me to transition from one existence to another.
What was the first existence that you had? Can you recall that?
You call them elves.
So you were an elf the last time that you had a body?
Yes.
And so I want you just to allow yourself to drift back through time and space, just drifting back through time and space to the last time that you had a body as an elf, and be there now and tell me, what do you see or what do you remember about your life?
I was unhappy. I didn't like it.
What happened to you?
I used to get into a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I like to make people laugh, so I would do things to make them laugh, like they would fall or they would lose something important that they had to look for. And I thought it was funny, but nobody else thought it was funny.
And so, as you move forward to the last day of your life in that body, tell me what was happening to you. How did you pass?
Because of the mischievous deeds I committed, my energy became more dense and more dark. And it became uncomfortable, and I was shunned. And then that made me angry.
Mm-hmm. Are you still carrying that anger within you?
A little bit, but it's more of a feeling of being let down by my community, my peers.
So I want you to take a moment and connect with that community. Just visualize that community of beings around you. And what do you imagine that they would want you to know? What would they say to you right now?
They wanted me to know that I was getting off the path, off of our collective path. because I enjoyed being mischievous. And that's why they ended up shunning me, because I did not listen to reason. But the energy where we were, where our collective was, there was a lot of darkness there. And that is why we were there,
Mm.
to help dissipate and bring beauty and light. And it feels like the darkness tempted me and took hold of me somehow.
Very good. So, are you ready to go back into the light and to be able to begin to live again and do what you were truly meant to do, which is to bring joy, happiness, and light?
I'm afraid.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid I'm going to be punished if I let go.
Mm. Who do you think is going to punish you?
The darkness.
Mm.
I don't want to be there.
So let's do this. I want you to take a look in your chest. Look right inside your heart. And as you look into that heart space, you're going to find a tiny spark of light. Let me know when you find that spark.
I see it.
Mm.
It's like a candle.
Beautiful. So I want you to take that spark of light, that spark of the divine, and I want you to begin to expand it out, making it bigger, allowing it to fully encompass your entire body. And as you do that, tell me how that feels to you.
Before I can do that, I have to give a message
What is
so
your message?
that this body understands why I attached myself to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was visiting a very dark place, but she didn't know. And in the group she was with, she was uh, the only being that had light within, and she was vulnerable. And I liked her light, and I'm very sorry.
Mm.
It just felt familiar.
Very good. What have you been causing, Kim? What type of issues throughout her life?
She doesn't sleep well. I'm sorry, that's me. I sit on her chest when she's sleeping because I find it entertaining to watch a human sleep.
Mm.
And I like the way it feels when the chest rises and falls. I think it's fun.
Do you have anything to do with the breathing issues that she's been having early in the morning?
It's partly me.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone else in there with you that's also been causing these issues for her?
There is something else, but it's not me.
Mm. So I want you to take a look inside and tell me what that is. What do you see in there?
It looks like smoke.
Mm. And does this smoke have a consciousness, or is it in a thought form? or something else?
I don't like to get too close to it.
Hmm. What is it doing in there?
It's trying to extinguish her light.
Hmm. Do you know who put that smoke there?
It was on the land in the forest that I lived in that she visited.
Hmm. How long ago was it that you attached to Kim?
Several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
8, 9 years ago.
Very good. So, Kim, can you forgive this being for attaching to you?
Yes, of course.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to him?
Just go to the light and find peace.
Very good. Now that you have seen that you have this beautiful light within, you have nothing to fear. You will be able to go back and get another body and have another beautiful experience of your own. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Very good. So I want you to begin to pull all of your energy out of Kim, just pulling every bit of energy. We're going to ask Archangel Michael to be there to help guide you back into the light. Tell me when you see Archangel Michael.
Yes.
Very good. And let me know when you've pulled all of your energy out of Kim.
It's gone.
Very good. We'll ask Archangel Michael to begin to escort this being back into the light with love. We send you off with so much love. And so, before we begin to fill up that space where that being was released, let's take a look at that smoke. I want you to focus in on that area. Is that in your chest as well?
Yes.
And if that smoke could speak to us, that energy could speak, what would it say to us?
It doesn't want to speak.
Okay. What do you imagine is the reason that that smoke is in the chest area? As you tune into that area, what is that there?
It feels, it actually feels pretty dark.
Hmm.
I can see the land where it was, where
Mm-hmm.
the elf was. And it has a very dark history, this place.
Mm.
And I didn't know it when I was there. So everything that Elf mentioned was true. I thought it was a beautiful place. I didn't know.
So let's begin to remove that smoke from the body. And we can ask Archangel Michael to assist us, or we can use a tool to begin to release that smoke, to let that out of the body. What comes to mind that you'd like to do?
Archangel Michael and Archangel Raphael.
Very good. So, asking the archangels to begin to assist us in releasing this dark smoke from Kim's body.
It feels resistant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is such creepy information I'm getting.
What's coming through?
Um, so the place that I was at was Wadston Manor in
Mm-hmm.
England.
Mm-hmm.
and it's owned by the Rothschild family. And I just saw one of the, I don't know if he's still alive, but I can see his face.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that dark smoke that's on the land
Mm-hmm.
is him. It's his energy. Whatever. I don't understand it, but it's him.
So, like, do you feel like the entirety of his essence is within you, or do you feel like it's just a part?
No, it feels like it attaches to visitors of that place, and it
Mm-hmm.
and it seeks out light workers.
Very interesting.
Mm.
So, what would the archangels suggest we do to remove this energy?
White light of source.
Mm-hmm. So, let's begin to bring that powerful white light in through the body, bringing it in through the body, and just allowing it to flow into that space, asking Source to wrap your light around this dark smoke, releasing and transmuting it from Kim's body. Let me know what you feel as that's happening.
It feels like it's fighting to be released.
Mm-hmm. Let's strengthen that light. We'll bring in the full power of that light, asking the archangels to help and assist with amplifying that light within that space, helping to pull out that energy. Tell me how that feels.
It's calming down.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it's. I'm getting the information that it is partially AI technology, and with the intent of extinguishing the light in a soul. So the brighter the light gets, the harder it squeezes.
Hmm. And so, how do we release this AI technology? What's the best way to do this within a person?
Source.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so, as that source light continues to work, tell me what's happening.
Mm.
Just flooding that space with that powerful light.
It's becoming lighter, and the heaviness in the chest is starting to go away.
Mm-hmm. We'll ask Gaia to assist in draining that energy as well, pulling in her direction that energy out of the body.
The angels are saying we need to do healing for the land later.
Okay. So, how is that energy feeling?
It's feeling lighter. It's pretty dense. It's going, but slowly.
Okay. So, as we allow that energy to continue releasing, can we go ahead and begin to do that healing work and sending that
Yes.
energy to that land? So, Kim, I just want you to visualize that location that you're at. And I want you to imagine just pouring the light of source over the top of that location, any structures, over the land, for the purpose of transmuting and releasing any dark energies being held in that space that were placed there to harm another person.
The information that I'm getting is that particular, oh gosh, that dark energy that's on the land.
Mm-hmm.
It's to not only attach itself to the light workers to extinguish the light, it is so that they can't sense what's happening on that underground, specifically on that land.
Mm.
So that when they're there, if a highly sensitive person were to visit there, they would feel and know what's going on. So that's what that darkness is there for.
Mm. So, do we have an understanding of what's happening under the ground?
Yes.
What can you share about that?
It's the children.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they're doing to the children. It's awful.
So, let's call in all of the angels. We're going to call in Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael, Uriel, Zadkiel, and the angels of the light, and the warrior angels. I'm just calling in the entire team to assist us today in bringing light to this location. And not only what's above the ground, but what's underneath the ground, what's happening below, to the children, to those who are doing the worst of the deeds, just shining light in and around this area. Tell me what you see, Kim.
It looks like the angels are surrounding the the whole property, um, like a protective barrier. It's what it looks like.
Mm.
And I can see the area where the children are underground.
Mm-hmm.
It's, it's marked above the ground. People walk over it every day and have no idea.
And so, from your perspective, or from the guide's perspective, will this area be found? Or what can we do?
It feels like places like this have been found out before, and every time someone who isn't part of their dark agenda, their 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 group, um, they're just disposed of.
Mm.
So it's very well protected by the dark forces. These areas are one of many around the world, and they're trying desperately to keep them concealed. But it's only a matter of time before one is fully revealed. And once that one is fully revealed, then they won't be able to hide the others. There's so many of them, more than you could ever imagine.
It feels a bit helpless having this information and feeling like we can't do anything. What's the most important thing that we can do today to assist?
You have to share the information, but in a very cautious way.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to do global healings for all of these locations, and not just general healing, but specific. So those who have awareness of specific locations, to concentrate healing on those specific places. And as each one is worked on, then it's like a domino effect. When they're flooded with light by the global awakened collective, it's almost like they burst open and they can't conceal it anymore.
So, can this be done on an individual level, or is it better for us to come together in larger groups to amplify the energy?
It must be done in larger groups because the energy needs to be the most powerful energy that can come from humans at this time.
And so, do we need to know, because it would be hard for a person to know exactly where these children are being held? Can we just set the intention when doing this healing to allow that energy to go where it needs?
Yes, take it country by country, region by region, and analyze and think of what is in that area, what structures, parks, large places where where large amounts of people would visit. That's usually where they are underground.
So, you say this can't go on forever, and we know we're moving through a shift. How is it that these things are going to come to the surface? How long is it going to take for something like that to happen, for us to really understand the magnitude of this?
It's going to take some time, but the more those who are aware join together for the collective healing, it's time to be proactive.
Hmm.
You're safer in numbers. One strong light worker could extinguish hundreds of dark forces. So just imagine how much stronger it could be if hundreds of light workers came together for global healing. And we know this happens regularly with many groups on the planet, but it needs to be bigger. These groups need to join forces. So instead of a few hundred gathering in this area, in this country on this day, it needs to be all countries joining on the same day for the same purpose. It's time.
Very good. And so, bringing our attention back to the area that we were looking at today, how is that area looking as we bring the light of Source down?
There's a spiritual battle happening, and it's going to have to play out on the spiritual side because this is such a very dark place. The darkest locations, those battles are fought spiritually.
Hmm. Can you tell us who is taking part in these battles on the spiritual side?
Mostly the angels. There are more angels in existence today than there have ever been since the creation. When they refer to archangels, Archangel Michael's warrior of light, that is what is referenced. These are specific warrior angels of the highest degree.
And so, from the angels' perspective, how do they feel that the battle is going on their side?
It's not without difficulty. However, they know that their strength is all that's needed. They're confident. They know how powerful they are. It's a hard battle, but they know they're going to succeed.
Very good. And so, as we bring our attention back to Kim's body, has that smoke that was within her chest, has that been released?
It's still releasing.
Hmm.
It's still there a little bit.
Very good. Will that be released completely for her after today's session?
Yes.
And can you scan the body for us and let us know if there's any other attachments, any blockages, anything we need to release for her today?
She is receiving all the information she needs at this time. In future sessions, we will continue to work on the body. For her, it needs to be done gradually.
Very good. And so she mentioned that she's not been feeling well lately, and she's wondering what's going on there. Some chest and her lungs feel sore and a little bit of a erratic heartbeat.
The soreness in her lungs is this smoky energy that's being released today.
Okay.
And the general feeling of not feeling well is her energetic body being upgraded, and the physical body is having difficulty keeping up. So she has to assist the physical body as we work on her energetic body. As much as she is resistant to, we hesitate to use the word detox, but that's the one you are most familiar with. It has to be very gentle, but that's what she needs to do.
Any particular detoxes that you would recommend for her?
With food, so very clean sources of food, remove anything that causes density in the body. So for her specifically, it should just be minimal fruits, lots of vegetables, a little bit of protein as needed. We say mostly fish, and some nuts and seeds, but everything else needs to go. And as her energetic body continues to be upgraded, she will be able to modify her diet as needed. She also needs to flood the body with oxygen. And there are a variety of ways she can do this. And we say this is helpful for anyone feeling these energetic upgrades to their body. For some, it can be very uncomfortable. And we just say the best way to keep your body comfortable is be mindful of what you put in it. It has to be the cleanest food sources you can find.
So I've been noticing quite a few people that I follow, that I watch their content, have been sick or unwell, as I have also. And I was wondering, is there a connection with all these? Are we all receiving the upgrades, or could this just be individual issues?
Yes, so the human collective is purging. So
Okay.
your bodies are preparing.
Mm.
And as your bodies are preparing, you're going to feel these symptoms that are what you call colds and
Mm-hmm.
illnesses. The body has to purge itself.
Very good. And so these higher energies that are coming in right now, how are they affecting our physical bodies? What are they doing or changing within us?
You're becoming a more crystalline being rather than a carbon-based being. And humans and the human body has a difficult time adjusting. For some, they can do it quicker. Some do it too fast. Some don't do it fast enough. You just have to pay attention to your body. It's always speaking to you, and do what is best for you. But we are always going to tell you that your food sources have to be clean and pure. So remove all the fun foods, the foods that you reach for in comfort. Those are not comforting you. They're actually harming you.
Very good. And so, as one of the questions that I get a lot in sessions is, what is the right food for me to eat? And I know this could be different for everybody. What's the best way for a person to tune in to their own individual needs and to know what they need to eat for their health?
Pay attention to how the body reacts to food you've just consumed. So say you eat an apple
Mhm.
and you wait a little bit and see how you feel. Do you feel energized? Does your mind feel clear? Do you feel satisfied in your stomach? If so, then that's a good food for you. But if you feel tired or sluggish or um, foggy in your brain or any discomfort, then that is not the food for you. So you have to be very mindful. Humans like to eat a lot of combinations of foods, which is why our advice to you is always keep it simple. If you are eating 10 different 20 different sources of food at one time, you won't know what specifically is causing you discomfort. So keep it simple and let your body guide you.
Very good. As we started off this journey, we discovered an attachment within Kim's body. And as we move through this shift in consciousness and move into the 5D, what will happen to the entity attachments and the lost souls that are attached to us after the shift? Will they be released back to the light?
There are multiple types of attachments that one can have. So
Mm-hmm.
the earthbound souls, the poor souls that are trapped here, who didn't transition at their immediate time of death, those souls will immediately be brought into the light. And there will be angels to surround them to help them with their transition. And that's another reason why there are more angels now than ever. There's multiple types of angels that are here to assist at every level. And so those souls will transition, and other types of energetic attachments will be released. But again, they have to be released gradually because sometimes it can be very uncomfortable for the human body, which is why we always will tell anyone who asks to always focus and keep their body as clean and healthy as they can.
Can you tell us a little bit about how it's possible for these lost souls and these entities and other things to even attach to us? Seems a little unfair when we don't have knowledge or are not giving permission. How does that happen?
This is a free will universe. So just as you have free will to tell them they do not have your permission, they also have free will to attach.
Mm.
So there's a delicate balance. And this is also part of the human evolution, is to have greater awareness so that you are able to stay in a higher level of consciousness, to where you are not only vibrating higher, but you're aware if something attempts to attach to you, you can immediately help it transition to the light.
Very good. Is there a way for us to release these attachments, these entities, these souls without the help of a practitioner or another person? Is there anything we can do to do that work on our own, even if we don't know that anything is there?
Not at this time. Eventually, yes.
Okay.
As we get closer to the shift, it will be easier for you to do it on your own, but as of right now, the best way to remove them is with a practitioner. The only thing you can do on your own is cut cords of attachment and clear your physical and energetic body with the light.
And do we cut those cords just by setting the intention to do so, or through visualization?
It's will vary person to person. So if you can visualize, we say yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you are unable to visualize, it could be just as simple as getting into a quiet, meditative, and receptive state. Always invoke protection around you with white light and ask Archangel Michael to cut all cords of attachment. And once those cords of attachment have been severed, then go in and heal the body, the physical body, and the energetic body, and both your galactic and grounding cords with the white light of Source or any other high being of light that you feel connected to.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what those galactic and grounding cords are?
Your grounding cord keeps you connected to Gaia, and your galactic cord keeps you connected to Source. So they can become cloudy and dark. And because most people don't know you have them, that is why you feel disconnected from the earth or disconnected from Source. So in your daily, how do we say this? Your daily habits, make it a point to clear and strengthen them.
Very good. So, as a practitioner, I helped people to release the traumas and the stored emotions that are trapped from this lifetime and past lifetimes. After the shift, will we continue to have to release these emotions, or will that energy be automatically released for each person?
It will not be automatically, yes and no. So yes, for some it will be automatically released. Those of you who have higher awareness, who do this work, who understand how this process works and how this universe functions, that will be easier for those, for you. Those who don't have the awareness and are going to be surprised by the changes the earth will be experiencing. For those, that is where you light workers and practitioners will be of greatest service. And it will go faster than it has for you. We're sorry to say that You light warriors on this planet have had the hardest job. You've been here doing the work for years and years, but that is what makes you highly qualified to help those in need after this big shift.
So will we still have to do it in sessions like this, or will the work become easier? Will we be able to help people release those energies easier?
It will be much easier. And yes, it will be, these types of sessions will be upgraded.
Wonderful.
Yes, to where it will be a lot easier for both parties to release and receive information.
Very good.
It's going to be important for the light worker practitioners to, their biggest job is going to be to hold compassionate, loving space for those who are going to be surprised and just starting out on their journey.
Very good. And so we know that the crossed over souls have that energy as well, because obviously we continue to bring it back into lives. Will that be released for them, or what will that look like for those souls?
This,
not in the physical body.
the soul, yes, yes, those souls will have a release as well. And it will be very quick for them since they are no longer in a physical body. It's easier to do that sort of healing when you are in your energetic state.
Wonderful. And so, will we continue to have karma to deal with? Will there be a need for balancing those energies? How will that change?
Yes, there will always be karma as humans understand it, but there always has to be opposing forces at this time. We don't know how things will be many years into the future.
Very good.
We say it will, karma will continue to help balance things out until the human race completely evolves. So it's just like letting go of old habits. It's not going to be an overnight process going from a completely unaware individual and the next day waking up and being fully activated and aware. It's going to be a transitional phase for quite some time.
So when we think about the shift, I think many of us have had that idea that it's going to be very quick and everything is just going to magically transform. So can you give us just a little bit more information about how gradually things will shift, what we will notice, things like that?
Some things will shift instantaneously. And again, it depends upon your level of awareness. But a lot of things are going to take time. It's the human mind has a difficult time of comprehending things that are outside of your existence, your world. So for a lot of the quantum concepts, it's very difficult for most of humanity to understand them, let alone experience them. So a lot of this shift and these changes that will happen on your planet will have to happen over time.
Very good. And so is there anything in particular that you can point out to us that needs to happen in order for us to make this shift to 5D more of a reality?
The human collective has to unify. you have to put all of your differences, your different beliefs, your different perceptions of things aside. This diversity is wonderful, and that's one of the most beautiful things about your planet is how diverse the human race is. And instead of finding reason to remain separated, that should be what brings you all together. So until the human collective can come together, uh, there's nothing that can be done to make this shift happen any faster. It's up to you to do it.
Will that become easier as these new energies come into the earth and integrate within the physical form?
Yes, in time. Um, uh, for many, it's difficult when you first start to understand how the universe works. We say there's jokingly, there's growing pains with that,
Mhm.
and it can be uncomfortable at times to just be patient, um, and allow those who are newly aware to have a little breathing room to incorporate some of the new energies into their bodies. And once more and more people are incorporating the energies into their bodies, it will get easier for humanity to unify. We have mentioned before that it has to get bad before it gets better, and that's what we mean by that. The only way humanity is going to unite is when every single walk of life has unfortunately suffered in some way, for them to realize that it doesn't matter how different that person over there is from me. We all just want to be happy and healthy and exist in peace. And that's going to take some time.
So we hear about the possibility of Source bringing in let's just call it a heavy dose of energies to help us with this shift, but that is completely up to Source. What would need to happen in order for that massive flood of energy to come onto this planet to assist with this shift?
What we can see at this time is uh, everything would need to uh, start shifting backwards. So those who are doing the work on the planet at this time, if um, the light workers stop and just say, we've done as much as we can, nothing's happening, nothing's changing, we're just done and we give up. If it got to that point, and we don't think it will, you guys are too strong for that, then at that point in time, uh, we understand that Source would step in.
Very good. And so, with all that's happening in our world, what is the best way for a person to navigate between 3D and 5D? How do we stay focused on what is to come and what we want to see in this world and not be pulled down by the weight of the events that are playing out around us?
We say use detached logic. So detach yourself from all the uncomfortable things that are happening, but be logical about it. You have to know what's going on. You can't just bury your head in the sand and forget things are happening around you and in the world, but detach enough to where it doesn't consume you all day, every day. That's the healthiest way to find and have balance. And if you find yourself leaning more towards the fear and the worry and the anticipation of what's to come, then we ask you to step back, give yourself some space, give yourself some healing, have those healthy boundaries, and then engage in a detached way again.
Very good. And as we try to get information, we know that there's so much misinformation out there and so many different messages that are coming through at this time. How do we know when we're listening to that information what is the truth and what may have a darker agenda behind it?
We say if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You have to use your discernment always. If something sounds too extreme on either end of the spectrum, then there could be something interfering. So always use your discernment. And that's why we always suggest to have a detached curiosity.
Mm.
Always, when you are seeking information, ask for protection. You're always protected, but reinforce the protection around you, your physical body, your energetic body, your home, wherever it is that you are. Always ask for protection before you consciously go seeking information. And then you will be led to the highest information of light that you can find.
Very good. And so, as more people on the planet begin to awaken, they're wanting to connect with their higher self and their guides and their star family to bring forward messages. How do we know that we are connecting with our team of light and not a lower level being?
The more, how do we say this? We don't want to use the word evolved, but that seems like it may be the appropriate word. The further along you are on your personal spiritual evolution, the easier it is for you to recognize light from dark. So we say if you are newly on your journey, you are just now understanding how the universe functions, then we say to be very conscious of invoking protection and finding appropriate teachers and practitioners and guides that you can work with in the physical to help you strengthen your light. Because the stronger your light is, the more light you will receive.
Very good. And I know we've talked in the past about there's so many different messages that are coming in through these different types of healing sessions, mediums, channelers. It can be very different information. Are they pulling that information in as possibly a potential timeline that they're tapping into? Is that why we see so many different things that could happen coming through?
Yes, it's all based on the individual's belief system. So all the information that you receive is coming through your physical consciousness, your physical body, a human, and that is how that human being deciphers and understands the information that's coming. So whether it be a session like this or a channel or a psychic, all that information has to get filtered through the human. So it's all going to come through their belief filtration system. So if they believe wholeheartedly that an event or a situation or an outcome is going to happen, that's the information they're going to pull in through their sessions. Whether the outcome is going to be positive or negative, that's irrelevant. But if they believe something, that's the information that will come through for them.
So again, that makes it so incredibly difficult as we're trying to gather information to know who to listen to and who's bringing in their own knowledge. Is that coming through the higher self? Is that coming through other beings?
It depends on the person and their intention, but we say listen to yourself. Stop looking for external information, validation. You should always be listening to yourself and what's best for you. Because what's best for you isn't best for someone else. And for those who are frustrated that they can't bring this information through, we say that you can. You have to crawl before you can walk, and you have to walk before you can ride a bike, and you have to ride that bike really good before you take it on an adventure. So perhaps not being so impatient
I was
leads
just
you
about to say, we're not very patient
to,
here, are we?
no, we understand. It's part of the human experience. We understand.
Very good. So we were looking at the darkness when we first entered this session, and some pretty dark things that are happening around this planet at this time. Some have said that current events on Earth are part of a universal effort to rid the universe and the planet of dark forces permanently. But how is this possible? Is there a way that the dark will ever go away, or will there always need to be a balance of dark and light?
At this moment, we say there always needs to be a balance of dark and light. That's universal law, but we are not in charge. So we are just the messenger. So if at some point in the future, Source decides to change universal law, then that will come directly from Source. We just want to say that we are all hopeful of a universe that exists only of the light. So just as you want that, we as well want the same thing.
I do wonder, as I learn more about the spiritual wars that you were talking about earlier, I think, how long will this continue to go on? Will there always be wars? Will we always be fighting in some way?
We are hopeful that at some point we won't be fighting anymore. But we don't have all of that information. That, of course, has to come directly from Source. Because as you know, this entire universe, our existence is all Source experiencing itself in every possible way. So it's hard for even us to provide information or consider something other than all that we know at this time. But we will say that the chatter on this side is we are hopeful that we will eventually move towards an existence of pure light and bliss so that we can all live in harmony.
Very good. So, go ahead.
There are so many. We just wanted to say that we are pushing for a universe of light. We're all trying on the many different levels on this side. How can we relate this in human terms? So imagine, if you will, there is a council of elders on our side, and beings from all different realities, dimensions, and places in the universe gather together to discuss what's best for the universe. And the talk is that we want a time of peace. We want a universe of nothing but love and light, because it's been going, the light versus dark has been going on for so long that we feel that there are still infinite experiences to be had, even if they are of the light and only of the light.
Has it always been dark versus light, or was there ever a time where it was all light? And if so, how did the darkness come about?
It was a very brief moment. It's hard to discuss in terms of time. The best way we can describe it is there was a very brief moment at the very beginning of creation where all was perfect and the entire universe lived in perfect balance and harmony. And at that time, Source created the universal laws to experience contrast.
Mm.
And that's what we've been experiencing ever since. There is beauty in the contrast, and we are of the understanding, which we have understanding and belief and agreement that there should be balance. It feels like the universal collective chatter, as I mentioned, is we want the peace and the light.
Yes, very good. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
So we hear about earth changes and things, as we move closer to this shift. Is there anything that you can share with us about any changes to come, anything that we need to know about, any land changes that we might experience?
As we scan the planet, we see it. It still looks the same. It still looks like it has been. We see it still looks like for the near future, we just see some areas turning light and some areas turning dark. So it looks just like lights going on and off, flickering on a map of your planet. So some areas may get worse, some areas may get better, but we see this happening globally. This all ties in with what we keep saying, that the majority of the responsibility is on humanity. When people say they feel like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders, they do. That's their higher self coming through, letting them know that it's time. It's time. You have to do what you came here to do. And every single human that is alive on this planet right now came here to do this job. You have to remember that. Don't ever doubt that.
Very good. So, from your perspective, in the near future, do you see any destruction, any events that stand out to you that might happen within the US or other countries? Any type of laser event or other that you can share with us?
We know there's talk of situations like these happening. And what we can say is that whatever does happen, is all happening within your planet. There's no external force that's going to come in and cause destruction. So it would just be, how do we say this? We want to say human against human, but as you know, they're not all human.
Mm.
So I guess we will have to say dark versus light, but there will be some dark players that want to do events, false looking events. Is that the way to say it?
Mm-hmm. False flag events.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To do a false event to incite more fear, but it's not real. They're just doing it because they feed off of the fear, and every single tactic that they try, once the fear starts to dwindle and go away, they have to look for something else, and then something else after that. So these are all part of the events that take place to help unify humanity.
So there's purpose even within these false events to assist
Yes.
us.
Yes. So there is potential for negative events to happen. We don't have information on any specific event in the United States or anywhere else. Let us scan the planet and see what we can find. When we scan the planet like this, it's, how do we explain this? For a human to understand, it's similar to us looking at condensed time,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see where events pop up on the planet. And we see something happening over the Asian countries. So if you were to look at a large rectangle map of the world, we see something lighting up in the east, mainly in the east. We see some minor potentiality on the west coast of the United States. But at this time, we don't know if they are related events.
Mm. And you're not able to see what
We
they
can
are.
just see. We don't have that information.
Okay.
But if you would like to speak with someone else, we can step aside.
Who are we speaking with at this moment?
You have been speaking to two of Kim's guides.
Mm.
Specifically, but we can step aside if you would like information that we don't have access to.
Hmm. Who do you feel like we could bring through that might have this information? Anyone in particular?
We feel that there are higher level guides and perhaps some high beings from other dimensions that could assist. The reason why we were here is because we have been recently human. We are new guides,
Hmm.
and we have a greater understanding of the workings on the planet at this time.
Wonderful. Well, let's just keep going. If we want to bring in any of those higher guides, we welcome them to join in with this conversation.
Okay.
And we're also very grateful to the beings who were here assisting us at this time, to Kim's guides. So are we connecting with any additional beings, or shall we just continue?
It feels like there is something that wants to come through, but they're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
So we can continue to speak with you until they are ready.
Very good. And if you'll just let me know, I would appreciate that.
Yes.
Very good. So there are many that have they feel that we're going to in the future have access to medbed technology that will transform the way we are able to heal. Is that something that you see for us in the future, or what can you share with us about that?
We see it as a potential. However, it's not to the capacity that, let's say, those who have a deep belief in this particular way of healing do. So those who have a deep belief in this technology feel that a human body could lay on this, a very sick, ill, hurting body with multiple issues could lay on this bed for a period of time, and then everything goes away. To a certain degree, there will be technology that there is already technology that could aid in healing the body that fast. It's just not very well known. And every time it tries to come out and be very well known, the dark forces at play suppress that information. So you have to really look for them. But at this time, we don't see it developing to the extent that those wish it would.
Mm.
That's not the sort of technology that's going to be existing after your shift.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that technology? What can we expect?
The new technology that's coming in is going to be very simple, very pure, very easy. And when you have this new technology, it's not going to damage the human body the way the current technology on your planet does. So you won't have the need for a med bed, as they call them, because the body won't react that way anymore.
Mm.
So you won't need it. We understand that during a transitional period, the human body will need something, and that is where quantum healing comes in. You don't need a bed when you have quantum healing that can do it instantaneously.
Mm.
If that's appropriate for the soul, we have to say that.
Mm. Very good.
Remember, you come here to experience everything, good and bad, health and disease. So that's all part of an individual soul journey. So just like Kim has tried to heal certain issues in these particular sessions, they were part of her journey and we can't take them away from her.
Mm.
It's the same thing. A medical bed can't take away something from you if you specifically came here to experience that. Does that make sense?
It does. And will we always desire to experience these challenges? Will that transform over time?
Yes, that is what the collective chatter that we have on our side is all about. So when we gather, when the the beings from all the different universes gather together. That's what we discuss. The different experiences that we can have. We're sort of, how do we say this, in negotiation right now, exchanging information on all the different experiences that could be had that aren't uncomfortable, that aren't painful, because we feel that souls have experienced quite a bit of that in their journey. And the for argument's sake, those who have had, you know, lifetimes for, eons, you've experienced so much. Why would you need to come back and experience more pain and more suffering? But then we have brand new souls who are just now incarnating for the first time. And so that's the argument for the other side. They still have a wide range of experiences out there for them, and they shouldn't be deprived of a less than desirable experience just because they're new, and those of us who have been around a lot longer don't want to continue to have these challenges.
Does it have to be so difficult, though? Can they be lesser challenges and still get the learning that they need?
Well, some lifetimes are like that.
Right.
So there are lots of experiences that aren't as challenging. We just know that's what's magnified right now because of what's going on in the planet. And that's why when a lot of people are doing these types of sessions and they connect with other lifetimes that are happening for them. That's why a lot of them do experience the difficult ones, because that's the energy that's going on right now. It's all coming to the surface.
So, speaking of coming to the surface, in Kim's session titled It Will Be Huge, we talked about an energetic volcano of things that are rising to the surface right now. Can you give us an idea of where we are with this? Is there any new information that you can share?
There will be something that happens. We were not the guides that provided that information. We will invite them in to see if they can give you more. As we said, we're newbie guides, and we can hear that aspect of Kim's mind that is really wanting to know who we are. We find it so funny.
So you're part of her guidance team?
Yes, we are we are 2 new guides on her team, and one of us was physically incarnated in this current life of hers with her, and she knows who that person is. And
did we speak with you in another session?
No, this is my first time.
Okay.
This is my first time coming here.
Very good. Yes, if those guides that brought that information, I know that there are many people that are wanting to know more about that. Could we invite the guides? I think from Spica I'm not sure if it was Spica, if they brought through that information.
We are here with you today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming through and joining us today. We were revisiting some of the information that we spoke about in Kim's session where we connected with you, and particularly about the energetic volcano and the things rising to the surface on the planet. What can you tell us about where you see us with this, or any new information that you can share?
What we can say is that things are on course. The blue light in inner Earth is becoming brighter and brighter, and that's simultaneously will affect what happens on the surface. So at this point, we would say the blue light is at halfway there. So it's getting closer. And what we can say about this event that we said would be very big, we feel that it was delayed slightly, but it will happen. And it will have a ripple effect on the planet. The reason why there was a slight delay with it is because once the dark forces realized what the plan was, the plan was well concealed for quite some time, years even, that once it was revealed that they have done everything they can to interfere with it. So it's just a matter of time before it happens, but it will happen.
Mm. And so, from your perspective, is there any information that you can give us about what this event might be? Anything to look for or that might stand out to us?
How can we say this? We are trying to figure out the appropriate way to say this. It will affect all areas of communication.
Mm.
And so by affecting communication, it's going to have a global effect. How do we say this? It will start in the United States and it will have a ripple effect out through the entire world. There will be a lot of chaos for a while. Once this event happens, the dark is really going to ramp up. So that's when things will seem like they're getting worse, but there's no stopping that ripple effect through the world. So that's where the big jump, I guess we can use that word, jump from how do we say this? It's very difficult for us to put this into words. Jump in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are not aware of what's happening, this event will trigger more and more people to understand what's really happening here. And that's when we're getting close to the, as we said, game over moment.
Mm-hmm. And so there's already so much fear on the planet with all of these experiences that we're going through right now. What can you share with us to help us when these things start to unfold and more fear comes on? How does a person not fall into that fear?
As the previous guides that were speaking mentioned, we would like to agree with what they said of having a detached perspective on things. There's a fine line between being detached and being disengaged. You have to engage. You have to come here and fight the fight that you came to fight. But you also have to sometimes take a step back to protect yourself for any healing that you need to give yourself and to find your strength again, because we understand that this could be a very tiresome journey that you're on, or experience really. So if you need to step back from time to time to find your strength again, then do that. It's a dance between engaging and disengaging.
So, since there's been a little bit of a delay in this event, from your perspective, do you see anything major unfolding for us before the end of this year that you can share with us?
There is talk of a shift in politics happening closer towards the end of the year, but it's undetermined at this time.
Very good. And as you look out at the first part of next year, anything that you can share with us about what we should expect for the next maybe 3 to 6 months of the first of the year?
Be prepared for the fight with the dark to get even stronger. They're gonna come full force in the new year. So hang tight, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
And so there's many areas around the globe that are currently experiencing a lot of these mandates and restrictions. Do you see that continuing to get worse?
Yes, they will continue to get worse. So we say be prepared and stand strong with your beliefs. Don't let anyone make you feel pressured to conform to something that is not appropriate for you. You have to do what's best for you.
So, as things continue to get worse around the planet, is it mostly going to be related to the pathogen and the jab, or are we going to see other things that are also creating?
They're still using the pathogen and the jab as a tool, and they're going to continue to use that until it no longer has an effect. And so they're going to start with that, and they're going to start bringing in other fear tactics and other ways that they can be creative to suppress humanity's free will.
And so, for those of us who are not living in areas where the mandates are so heavy, it's easy to stay detached and not feed into that energy. But there's some areas like Australia, I think I've heard of Austria lately, and maybe Canada, where it seems they have very, very heavy mandates that are affecting more people. If you're in an area where you feel a lot of fear because your rights are being taken away or you're being restricted, what can you share with those people about how do they navigate that?
These areas where it's the darkest right now, our best advice to you is it's always darkest before the dawn. And we know you're tired. We know that you feel like there's nothing you can do. And we say this is when it's the most important time for you to connect with your global network and find strength from your soul family and other areas. Let them be the light. Let them help you, in essence, shine your light brighter. It's very important that you do whatever it is you need to keep your light strong, because the reason why they're coming after you so hard is because they know how powerful you are and that these are important energetic hotspots on the planet. And that's why they're coming to these areas so strongly. We say to always use your discernment when reaching out for assistance in these particular areas, because there is a lot of AI technology that is trying to infiltrate your communities. That is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for them to spread out from these areas and cover the entire globe with their darkness. And so they're doing everything they can in these specific regions because they're using they're using your fear, they're using your desperation, they're using your despair as energy. So the longer you stay in despair, the more energized they become. So it's so important for you to raise your energy with any means necessary.
Very good.
There is talk of external assistance for these areas. We don't know at this time what that's going to entail, but it is a possibility that there may be assistance in the near future. We say by June of the new year that if these areas are going to receive external assistance, it will be by then. There is talk of what can be done to help these areas while still respecting free will.
Mm. And so when you say external assistance, do you mean by higher dimensional beings or?
Yes, there are a lot of benevolent beings from other universes and galaxies that want to help. But again, because this is a free will universe, we have to be very careful what we do in terms of interference. We cannot break universal law.
Mm. But if we were to come together and invoke our free will to invite these beings in to help us, is that not a loophole?
There's always a loophole and there's always a way.
I
There's
feel like
always a
if
way.
enough of us come together and
That is the main message, is
okay.
that we would like to bring forth,
Mm.
is that the most important bit of information we can share is that humanity needs to unite. It's time. It's time. There's only so much we can do for you on our side. You have the entire power of the universe behind you, but you're not utilizing your own power.
Mm.
Humans don't realize you're stronger. You have more strength to affect change on your planet than we do on our side. And I know that sounds like it's impossible, but it's not.
So just about letting go of those belief systems that we've held for so long that we're unworthy and not good enough.
Yes. We feel that these groups, and the previous guides also mentioned that there were groups around the world who host healing events and such. And we say this is a good opportunity for you to not only help raise your vibration and clear out those lower density beliefs, but it's also a way for you to gather with your soul family and like-minded people. So we really urge you to connect these individual groups on a more global scale. What we see is how can we describe this? We see networks in all these pockets of the world, and we can see how they're connected energetically. So someone in this group over here in the United States know someone in Australia who's in this group. Well, those two souls need to connect their groups, and we see it all gridded across the planet. So you have to keep reaching out to your global connections, because when you do, you create this magical grid. We hate to use the word magical, but this strong, energetic grid across the planet. And that is going to create a force field more powerful than you could ever possibly imagine.
Mm.
So that you gather together with the intent of clearing dense energies, raising vibrations, unifying, so that the world has one heartbeat.
Beautiful. So you mentioned the AI technology that they're trying to use against us. Can you give us a little bit more information about that technology? What is it?
It comes from several places. So you have artificial technology that is made by the humans on your planet. That's the lowest level. Artificial technology that exists. And then you have artificial technology that comes from other places in the universe that has a consciousness, or partially has a consciousness. And so some of these dark players are connected with the artificial intelligence from other places in the universe, and they bring them here through their own connections. So you have a few different things going on. That's the easiest thing to remove from the human body. You just, there's two ways you can do it. You can either use a magnetic stone like hematite and run it over your body. It helps deactivate it. And then you can go through with energetic tools that you use to dislodge it. So the magnet will deactivate it, and the energy tools will remove it, dislodge it from the body.
Can we use a magnet to do that as well, or just the hematite stone?
The hematite has a stronger magnetic property for this type of technology.
And so would you say that there's AI technology in the medication that is being used at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Is it in all of the jabs, or just
Not
some
yet.
of them?
Not yet, but it will be.
Is that the little square metal pieces that some scientists are finding? Is that what that is?
Yes. And it looks different in every type of medication because it's a different type of technology in all the different medications.
So how is that technology activated once it's inside of us?
It's activated in the vial when it even comes into you. So it's activated before it even enters the human body.
And what is it doing to us once it's in the body?
It slowly is trying to take over your consciousness so that you are no longer you.
How is that possible?
It's hard to explain this sort of technology because that's not the technology that is man-made on your planet. So it's easy for the human mind to understand an artificial technology like a robot. That makes sense to you because that's familiar. But some of these technologies that come from other places in the universe, and it's beyond your comprehension. So it's very possible because it exists in other places, in other realities.
So does everybody who has received the jab that has this technology within them, does it affect every single person, or is it based on your level, your frequency? Does that affect it at all?
it will affect you regardless of your frequency to a certain degree. So that is why people who have taken the medication all respond to it differently.
Mm.
So those who don't have those who received medication that don't have the technology in it are the ones that typically feel nothing when they take the medication. Those people who had a reaction in any way, whether minor or more severe, that those people received the technology.
And so, is there a way to get that out of the body? Is there a way to detox, or is there an energetic way to remove that?
Yes, you have to, as we mentioned, you can use the hematite to work on your body.
Mm.
You can do physical detoxes on the body with different supplements. You could take detox baths. We know that there are a few types of products that is that the right word? Substances, products?
Supplements, maybe?
So, there are things you can put in your bath water. We will say it that way.
Perfect.
That will sorry, Kim thinks that's really fun. She's making fun of us. There are things you can put in your bath water that help remove the technology. It neutralizes it, and then you can pull it out of the body.
I think some of the things that I've seen, salts and bentonite clay, I think is one of them, and baking soda.
Yes, there's all sorts of.
Any others that come to your mind?
We will always tell you to put crystals in your bathtub.
Crystals.
Safe, water safe crystals.
Mm-hmm.
They are very powerful. Always make sure that your crystals have been cleansed and free of any, external energetic residue before you use them in this specific process.
Mm. Any specific crystals you would recommend for that type of cleansing?
Citrine is very powerful for this. We feel that citrine and clear quartz would be good to put in the bath with you, as well as hematite. And we know that moldavite is very difficult to find genuine moldavite, but if you could actually wear that on your body, that would be very beneficial as well.
Very good.
We know there are a lot of people right now who have methods of healing and cleansing this out of your body. So we just say there's lots of information out there readily available for you. You find what you feel is best for you. One isn't better than the other. You do any of them.
Very good. And so there's been talk that the food supply is possibly being manipulated with the medication and other harmful particles. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, this is one of the most cunning plans that they have. And when we learned of this, we shouldn't say we were surprised, but we were definitely saddened to hear this, because this is their way of attacking every human soul, from infant to elderly. The human body requires food, and what way to infiltrate the human body than with the one thing they need to sustain life as you know it. So this is why they want their artificial technology in everybody, because you will cease to be a human if you leave this technology in your body. Over time, the more that they manipulate the programming of this technology, the less human you are, and eventually you will cease to exist as the human. You will not be human anymore. And we know that's extreme to say, but that is their intent, unfortunately.
So, not to cause any more fear in anyone, how can we know? I mean, I know growing our own food is the best way of doing it, but for those who can't, what's the best way for us to avoid these types of things that they're doing? The foods that they're manipulating.
We are always going to suggest you grow your own food. And if you can't grow your own food, perhaps you could get your community involved and do it as a community effort. We know this is easier in certain areas than others. We know those who live in big cities have a hard time with that. So we will tell you to buy from local sources that you know. You have to go out into your community and find the cleanest source of food that you can possibly find. And anything you buy from the grocery store, you need to clean it, soak it in water with lemon juice, and put your hematite crystals in the water, let it soak. And if there's any technology on the food, this is for fruits and vegetables, it will deactivate it and will be safe for you to eat it.
So hematite is just powerful to release that technology from anything.
Yes, because of its magnetic nature.
Okay, that's good to know.
And it is safe. It will not dissolve in water.
Okay.
And for those who still eat and consume animal products, we suggest you not buying those from the store, to only get them from a farmer or market where where the animal proteins are coming from.
Mm. Very good. And so we know that things are going to get worse, to help us to wake up even more. As you scan into next year, do you see a turning point or possibly something that will happen within the next year that will shift us out of this challenge and into a more stable way of living?
The only information we have at this time is August. That's by the month of August, things will have progressed to as far as they can progress without how do we say this, without resolution. So the circumstances on the planet will have to, we keep seeing a fork in the road.
Mm.
So by August will be that fork in the road of, are things going to progressively get worse, and that will lead to a source reset, or is humanity going to do what they came here to do and usher in the light on their own?
Hmm. And that's what it's really about, isn't it? It's us waking up to our own light. It's not about anyone else.
Waking up to your own divinity.
Yeah, no one else is doing this for us. It's up to us to shift.
No. Yes, that is the message we love to stress, is that uh, you cannot expect an external helper to rescue you. You are the divine. You are source. So if you expect source to fix everything for you, then you expect it of yourself. You are source. We are source.
Beautiful. And so there are many around the world that are very interested in wanting to create intentional new earth communities without the limitations and the restrictions that come from government, and especially for those with limited finances. What can we do to begin to start creating these communities? How do we begin to come together to create a new way of living?
It's hard for most people to not be so self-reliant. Most people don't like to ask for help, um, much less ask for help outside of maybe their family or their circle of friends and acquaintances. But sometimes by looking outside of your comfort zone, you'll find your soul family and higher connections that you are meant to have. So we say it is possible to create these communities. You just have to look a little further outside of your comfort zone. And it's a foreign concept for most people, but share your resources. Go in as equals and do this together for the greater good. It is possible for those who maybe don't have the finances to do it on their own. If you have a few trusted friends or family members you can do this with, then you can start it. You can start somewhere.
Wonderful. And Kim is feeling really drawn to creating one of these communities. Is this something that she should do, or what does she need to know about that?
We do feel this is something that she should do. This is going to be one of her major roles after the shift, is to help others create communities, high vibrational communities. And the way she will have the experience of being able to help others is by starting it on a smaller scale with some of those that she already knows now.
Wonderful. And is there a location that she'll be doing this in, or will she just be guided when it's time?
We will help her find the appropriate location. We can tell her that the land that she will be doing this on is going to be very powerful. It's going to be on a ley line. So in her searching, if she wants to use that as a guide to start looking for property and along those ley lines, that would be helpful for her to narrow it down a bit. But there needs to be water, a natural source of water on the land itself. And she will understand at a later point in time why that water is so significant for her specific community.
Wonderful. So, is everything that we experience in this life planned prior to birth? Or do we create contracts with other souls and for other experiences along the way? Is that always shifting and changing for us?
There is a degree of shifting and changing. Most of it is pre-planned before you come here. Uh, all the big events, the most significant relationships and experiences are all pre-planned. And then, of course, there's variation to how that actually works out once you get here.
Mm.
But you always have free will. So say you're meant to have a relationship with a specific soul or live in a specific place or have a specific job experience or emotional experience. Those circumstances will arise in your life, but you have the free will choice whether you're going to go through with it or not. So there's always that variant where you may not stay on course as a soul.
Mm.
And that's what your guides are here for, to shift you and try to nudge you back into that direction, because that's what you pre-planned and came here to do. You don't always listen.
We don't, do we?
No.
We like to do it our way, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
It's way more fun.
Oh, yes.
Until,
We've had a difficult time with this one right here.
until we don't like things anymore, and then we blame it on you, don't we?
Always. Always. Not always, but, you know, we don't mind. We
Yeah.
understand.
We're very grateful to know that you're there. So it's not our soul that is always in charge of our human experience. We can override our soul's choice for us if we choose to go a different path. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And when you transition out of this human experience and you have your life review and you go over all of the particulars of this incarnation, you will then see, oh, I was supposed to do this experience and I didn't do it. Do I want to do it in another incarnation? You make all those decisions in the life between life experience.
Mm-hmm. Is that why we keep reincarnating with the same souls? Is it sort of like we didn't do it in this life, so we've got to come back together and
Yes, that's
do it
part
again?
of it. Yes, that's part of it. But then most of the time, it's just you want to have that soul in your life over and over again because they're your soul family, your soul group. That's, you guys are doing this for, over and over and over again because the love is there. It's always the love. Even the worst experiences that you choose to have in your physical incarnation, two souls agree to do that because they love each other so much.
Beautiful. That's so hard for us to understand.
It is. It's possible in time to look back on difficult experiences and remove the ego part of you that gets hurt from these situations and say, this soul and I agreed to come together to share this hurtful experience, and I'm grateful for that. At a soul level, you can still go through the human emotion of it, but a certain part of you can appreciate that at a soul level. You've come here to have this experience.
Beautiful. So was this pathogen, was it a contract? Was it always part of the plan for us to experience, or was that completely created by the dark?
It was completely created by the dark. There are ebbs and flows to humanity's experiences throughout the ages, and if you look back through the time that it's not all accurate. We will say that. There's been periods of darkness and periods of great light and great achievement and wonderful things happening. So there's always this ebb and flow to the human experience, but it was never supposed to be this dark, this bad. The dark saw the opportunity because, as we have said before, it was supposed to be a very slow infiltration of humanity. And they wanted to take over so gradually and so slowly. They've been at this for thousands of years. And they saw the opportunity right now, and they went with it because they know what the future is. They know how how they would cease to exist in the capacity that they have been for all these years. They knew that was going to happen, so they sped everything up. It's more obvious now.
So if they were able to see into the future and know what was going to happen, isn't the light able to see into the future as well and possibly be able to intervene? How does that work?
Yes, to a certain extent, the light always intervenes. That's what light workers are here for. That's why you have all chosen to come here and live the lives that you are living. It's because you came here to be a great change and affect great change during this period of time on your planet. So that is how the light comes to intervene and change things. Everyone assumes it's the light of source, and that's that doesn't happen very often.
Very good. Will there ever come a time? This is something that I've been struggling with myself because I so much want to know our true history. And I find that there's so much misinformation or information you're just not sure whether to believe. Will there ever come a time where we will have an understanding of our true history throughout time?
Yes, the beings from inner earth will bring that to the surface because they've been here all along. They know the true history. No one will be able to infiltrate it anymore once the dark forces have been dealt with, and the beings from inner earth, those who choose to come to the surface, they will bring the true history. And you'll be very surprised with what you learn.
I think we will.
Yes.
Is there anything that you could share with us today, something about our history that would surprise us or interest us to know?
Can you be a bit more specific so we can
goodness,
help?
that is a big question, isn't it?
We know what we can tell you.
Okay.
Because Kim was curious about this as well, so we're taking from her her thoughts.
Wonderful.
There was a period of time since she has studied his history from the what you call the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations. They were flourishing. They were incredible, so advanced for their time period. And after that, you had a period that you call the Dark Ages. And so Kim has always been curious as to how these huge empires were so big for so long and covered such wide land masses. Did they just cease to exist? And then there was hundreds of years of what you call the Dark Ages, and then came the Renaissance period, which was a very what's the appropriate word? Prosperous time period. And it wasn't like that. So it wasn't as dark of a time period as the edited history would like you to know. they have edited all of that out. So no, it wasn't dark for that long. As we mentioned, there is this wave, this ebb and flow to good experiences and bad experiences, but it wasn't that bad. It would have been impossible for these strong civilizations to just come crumbling down and cease to exist in such a short period of time. So that's a part of your history that isn't accurate.
Why has that changed so much? What's the purpose of that?
Because a lot of amazing inventions and technologies coming from other dimensions and times and places in the universe were brought in at that point in time, and they wanted to censor all of that. They didn't want, this is because the dark forces have been at play for so long. So there were key players in positions of power during that time period. So when these technologies came in, they wanted to suppress it. They didn't want it to happen. So that's why they, made things look a certain way and changed and edited history as you know it, because they had to get rid of the technology that would have ushered in the light sooner. Does that make sense?
So these technologies that have been suppressed, do you see a lot of them beginning to come back as the darkness leaves?
Yes, and that's part of the volcano event that we mentioned before. That's going to have to do with communication and technology. And because it's coming, it's going to be such a bright of the light form of technology. The dark is going to have and is having a hard time with trying to stop it and suppress it. But humanity is more aware now. There's a higher level of consciousness on the planet now than there was hundreds of years ago during your dark ages, your supposed dark ages. So that's why things are happening differently now than they did then.
And so when you say communication, in what ways do you see our communication changing in the future?
The veil of illusion will be lifted with the implementation of new methods of communication and technology. And with that, it's what's a good human analogy? It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's like you finally see the wizard behind the curtain and you realize that everything you've been looking at was an illusion and fake and not real. So that will help many understand that the technology and the methods of communication that have been so popular for many years now were not of the light. So that illusion will eventually come crashing down.
So we know one of our popular social media platforms is in the process of transitioning to the name Meta. And lots of interesting things are coming through about this platform and bringing people into more of this AI type of environment. Is there anything that you can share with us about that? What is the purpose of that?
Oh, it's all for manipulation and to lure you in with the latest shiny toy. It's all to pull you into the illusion, because once you become addicted to it, you won't you won't want to live without it. And once you become addicted to something and you don't want to live without it, then you're more willing and vulnerable to do what they are subliminally trying to program you to do, which is give up your sovereignty.
And so some of the advertisements that I've seen, it looks like something out of one of our movies with the technology where you pull it up with your hand. Is that technology that comes from other places, like maybe from darker places that they're bringing in?
Yes.
And so it was recently announced that Trump will be launching a new free media company and social media platform. What can you tell us about this new platform and the role that it will play?
It's going to be huge.
How huge will it be?
We've been trying to not get specific.
Okay.
But we feel that that information is out enough to where we can say probably a little bit more now that you're bringing it up. So that is going to have such a huge effect on the globe. And that's what the dark has been trying to put out for quite some time. This plan was implemented years ago, and it's been a constant battle behind the scenes that most don't know about, which is why things are happening and speeding up to the degree that you're experiencing them right now. This new platform is to counteract all the darkness, so to speak. And when it does, that's when that veil of illusion will fall.
And so is he very protected in bringing this company and this platform into reality? Or is he fighting really hard to try to do that?
Well, he has his protection and his team of light in place. It has been probably one of the biggest battles of his life.
And so in past sessions, we've spoken about Trump and his role on Earth at this time. And in, I think the last session, Kim's last session, we talked about that he's more awake than most think. But some people are questioning, why is he pushing the jab so much? What can you tell us about that?
We all come here to learn lessons, and he's not exempt from that as well. So at this point, we can say that he knows he was, how do we say, he was fooled. We hate to use that word fooled, but he was in the beginning. He, when all this information came out, he genuinely wanted to help people. He believed there was a true pathogen that could be stopped with something like this. And there were some doctors and scientists, ethical doctors and scientists who were developing that type of medication that would not be harmful. Unfortunately, there was a shift very early on when this happened, when a more nefarious subject came in to take over how things were implemented. And that's unfortunately when he was fooled. He thought that his original plan was being carried out, and it wasn't. So that was to a certain degree again not out of his control. He really couldn't help that. He has now seen the light. He understands, but he has to keep up a certain facade for the world at this time. He won't have to keep it up for much longer. And when the time is appropriate, he will speak the truth and he will ask for forgiveness very publicly for for being fooled the way that he was.
Mm.
And it's going to be a very humbling experience for him, being such a global figure, to ask for that forgiveness. And it's going to be pretty big for the world to see one of, if not the most popular figure on your planet right now, to ask for the forgiveness of every human on this planet. That's going to be big for him.
Wow.
It's going to be a very beautiful moment in his existence, but no other soul could do it but him.
Wonderful. And so many people, he's got a very egoic side, and it can be a little rough and come across not in such a positive way. What do people need to understand about that egoic part of him?
That he's human just like you are, and he came here to have a human experience. Even though as a soul, he's closer to source than most, that he's of the light and integrity, he still came here to learn very public lessons, and only the highest vibrating souls can come here with such public lessons to learn. So the next time you want to criticize not just him but anybody in a very big public role, we ask that you take a step back and say, this person is a soul just like I am, and I make mistakes just like they do. And if you can say that to yourself, then it will be a little bit more humbling for you as well.
Beautiful. And so many people have said that they have these very prolific dreams about him, that he comes into their dreams, sometimes with messages. What's happening there? Is he connecting with certain people for a specific purpose in dream time?
Yes. As you know, a soul has many aspects. And if you are vibrating at the same level as that particular aspect of him, then he will visit. That's the role that he's in right now. And he's also planting seeds, seeds of knowledge, seeds of light, experiences. He's very active, not only in his waking life, but in his sleeping life as well.
Wonderful. Anything else? I have a few questions that I'm going to ask, personal questions for Kim, but is there any other messages that you want to bring through today? Anything important that you want to share with us? Anything that would be good for us to know?
We would like to tell everyone it's very important to use your discernment right now with the information you are bringing into your mind, body, and spirit. So we don't want to bring up any fear, but the best thing we can say is use discernment. If something feels off and doesn't resonate, walk away from it. Don't engage with it any further than that. Use the tools that you feel are appropriate for you to keep your body healthy, your mind healthy. And the most important message that we have for everyone is you need to work harder to unite globally. This is a big mission that you guys are here to do, and everyone on our side is cheering you on. So just envision this force field of angelic and spiritual warriors surrounding you, surrounding the planet right now. And we're holding the space for you to do the job that you came here to do. You are source. We are source. We are all one. Be strong and don't give up.
Beautiful. Would you like me to continue on with a few of these personal questions for Kim, or would you like to bring back in her guides for that?
They can come in. We'll all join together to assist.
Beautiful. Wonderful. She's wondering about her nephew. He's very obsessed with ships and the Titanic in particular. She's wondering if he has any connection with that in a past life.
He does not. He is attracted to it because he is an earth angel, and he has compassion and an energetic connection with souls who are lost at sea. So he, in previous incarnations, as well as spending time in the angelic realms, worked with the sea specifically and helping those souls who have perished in that way.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. So she was in a minor car accident yesterday. No one was hurt and the damage was minimal, but she's wondering if there's a message or something that her guides were trying to send to her. Why did that happen?
So the little push from the back is to push her further under her path. She's she's too reserved for our liking. So we felt like she needed a little bit of a nudge. And of course, the experience with the other people she interacted with yesterday as well. It was the perfect observation of how those who have taken the medication have been manipulated in terms of personality. She saw one person who was keeping it together, who doesn't have AI technology in the body, and she saw one person who was very angry and couldn't keep it together, and that person has AI technology in the body that is slowly taking over.
Wow. So that technology, if it is in your body, can cause those strong emotional outbursts.
Yes. So that was just for her personal experience and reference to be able to share that with others, that you can physically see it, how it's happening with two different people in the same situation, in the same time, in the same place, having the same experience. It's almost as if they were in two separate realities, because in essence they were.
So I know that technology is in the body and there's nothing that we could probably do to remove that ourselves, but how could we affect another person if we see them reacting in anger? Is there anything that we can do to help?
Always ask for Archangel Michael to come. He's the most powerful, being of light you can call upon to protect you in situations like this or any other situation. And we're very proud of Kim for doing that yesterday, because she immediately asked Archangel Michael to put up a force field of protection around her. Her mom was with her, and also to cut any energetic cords as a result of that incident. So that's something to share with others, which is another reason why there are several reasons why this happened. But that's specifically a way for you to be able to protect yourself and help yourself during these situations. It's very important to make sure you always cut cords when you have experiences like this.
Wonderful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So she recently had a session where she experienced a deeply loving parallel life with an old acquaintance. Is there anything that she needs to know about that connection?
Yes, that person will come back into her life in the new earth when things have changed. That person will um, most likely be working with her in terms of intentional communities.
Hmm, nice. Can you explain a little bit about parallel lives? So she's living this life as Kim, but she saw herself also living another life with another person. Is that, how does that work?
So for this particular situation, it was unique in that they are still existing in her current reality and in their current reality. But when they met, there was a soul spark of recognition, and an aspect of themselves went on to have a different experience on a different timeline.
Mm.
So Kim was not aware of that, and not until recently, but this other person was on a very deep level. So it was an interesting dynamic, but that wasn't the way things needed to play out in this reality for her. She had other experiences that she still had to go through in this current incarnation
So there's a
reality.
version of her in this reality, but it's so hard for us to understand this. There's also a version of her with this person. Is that an active timeline, just like we're in right now? So
They're
she's
all active timelines. So it's very difficult for them.
mind bending.
Yes. So how can this the visual reference we can give you is think of your current reality like a ball of light, um, or a circle, or like the sun,
Mhm.
and you're in that the very center of that reality. That's the active reality, and coming out from that reality are all these other lines, rays from the sunshine, rays of light coming out from that center ball. They're not detached. They're all very much part of that center reality, but they're existing on their own in other times and other realities. It's very difficult because of Earth and the concept of time
Mhm.
that is prevalent on this planet, but they're all happening at the same time.
So, how many parallel lives can one person have?
Infinite number.
Oh, goodness.
They're all happening simultaneously. So when you in a session like this, you go to a past life. It's not a past life. It's a life just happening in another reality.
Mm. And so, even as we were talking about things like the dark ages and
Hmm.
those different ages, they're all still currently active. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that is
And
correct.
people are still living there. And it, it's very
Which is why
difficult
you
to
can,
understand linearly. Like, there's no
yes,
ending or beginning, it's just
no,
always happening.
the human mind has a very difficult time understanding the concept of infinite,
Hmm.
because there is a beginning and there is an end on your planet with everything. The sun rises, the sun sets.
Hmm.
That's daylight. That's the sun rises, it's the beginning of daytime. The sun sets, it's the beginning of nighttime. There's always a cycle. There's always a beginning and the end. You're born, you live your life, you die, a beginning and an end. There's always a beginning and an end on the planet, but there isn't an other uh, outside, the confines of your planet, that doesn't exist. So it's very difficult for the human mind to comprehend that. But that's why you can communicate with the past or the future because it's current. It's
Mm.
still it's still very much alive and and thriving. That's another reason why people who have the ability to communicate through time and space, the most popular, well-known figure was Nostradamus.
Mm-hmm.
He was able to cross, that barrier and communicate with people from other realities. He called it other times and places, but it was really just tapping into another reality.
Mm. And so he connected with Dolores Cannon quite a bit for her books.
Yes,
How is that
yes.
happening for them
The same way it's happening for you right now.
right now?
We're in another time and place, so to speak, but
Mm-hmm.
you're connecting with us right now.
And so, as we move through this shift, will that connection become easier so that we don't have to go into like a hypnotic or meditation state? Will we be able to connect with you in an easier way?
Yes, over time it will get easier. So for those of you who are well seasoned doing this type of work, you could just close your eyes and be there and connect. You can sit there in full waking consciousness and connect. There's different levels to it, and it will be different for everyone. And as humanity evolves consciously, then these abilities will just become stronger and stronger.
Wonderful. Very interesting. I did have another question that I had written down. Someone in our Telegram group would like to know. I thought it was a really cute question because I would like to know it as well. What will music be like after the shift? We have different genres like rap and pop and rock. Will we still have concerts and that type of music, or will that evolve?
It will eventually evolve, and we know that's really difficult
It
for a
is.
lot of people to understand. It won't happen for quite some time, so it won't be that shocking. But there's two answers to this question. So
Mm,
the first part of the question is that a lot of music that you listen to isn't at the correct frequency of light. So a lot
mhm,
of it has a dark frequency that will not exist anymore. So any music, and it's all methods, all styles of music have this low frequency. So if it has that, it will not exist anymore. Those artists will not be able to create that type of music anymore. It's just nobody is going to listen to it. Nobody's going to want to listen to it. Nobody's going to be attracted to it because you're not vibrating at that level anymore.
mm,
So current music as you know it will have the appropriate frequency, the divine frequency within it. And once something has the divine frequency in it, it's just going to become more and more elevated to where a music that you experience on Earth will be similar to what we hear on our side,
mm.
which is the most beautiful thing you could possibly imagine.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to that. There was recently a concert where it was quite tragic and there were quite a few deaths and things. One of the things that I heard was that at this concert, those that were there were being sort of bombarded with that low frequency music, which affected them in a very negative way and possibly led to the events that happened later in that night. Is there anything that you can tell us about how music is used against us?
All this technology has one purpose, and that is to harm you into submission.
Mm,
And so that was what was playing out at that event.
mhm,
It's the combination of the low frequency of the music, the AI technology in some bodies at this time, um, and that's just created uh, the uneasiness in the space for those events to unfold.
And so, would you say events like that are used to feed the darkness? They're
Yes.
harvesting that energy.
Remember what was said earlier about public places and big spaces and what's underneath the surface.
Mm.
That is why those events happen, and especially violence and events like that, because think of it as a negative vortex, a negative hotspot or portal, and you're just feeding it every single time you participate in something like that.
And so Kim and I had spoke on the phone a week ago, and we were talking about these different arenas and the shape of the arenas. Is that done purposely, like in the shape of an eye? Is that
Yes.
part of that?
Yes. Those are the things that need to be considered when doing, as was mentioned earlier, global healing for specific locations. We would say start your healing intentions on big places like that, and focus the healing and the intent on those places, and then go out from there.
Very good. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
I just had one final personal question that I had added at the beginning of this. The last 3 sessions, I have had a coughing fit prior to starting the session. And since we started off looking at an attachment with Kim, I'm just wondering if the guides can see within me, is there any attachment or anything that is causing that to happen?
We can say yes, and we need your guides to come in to do the healing.
Wonderful. I'd love to invite my guides in.
You've got a big team here to help you right
Hmm.
now. So you have your guides, you have us from Spica, and you have Kim's newbie guides. They're watching to learn.
I love the newbie guides.
She does too. She knows one of them. So this is entertaining for Kim. Okay, so the reason why you are having this, it's probably what you can already know and understand, is that you speak so much truth every day in doing these sessions, and you become a magnet for the dark forces at play. So don't be fearful. It's just a little bit of AI technology to interfere with your voice.
Mm.
So we're just going around your throat chakra area, cleaning it out. Just imagine a bright blue light coming down through the crown, all the way down, past the third eye, and down into your throat, and dislodging that little bit of AI that's in there. Its purpose is to stop the truth seekers from sharing all the knowledge that they acquire. And this particular one has attached to you because of your previous incarnation as a wise sage. So you're bringing in all that wisdom from this other incarnation with you in this life. It's going to be very influential for you in this life. You're going to bring in a lot of that, the knowledge and wisdom from this specific incarnation as a sage. And that's what they want to prevent you from speaking, because it comes through you automatically. You have no control over it when it comes through. You're tapping into that other aspect of yourself.
Mm.
And so they want to stop that information from coming out.
And so, what can I do? Again, going back to the attachments and the things that happen without our knowledge, is there anything I can say or do to stop that, prevent that, clean myself out on a regular basis?
Yes, just clean yourself out on a regular basis. Use the light, use the hematite magnets. After your sessions, make sure that you are cutting all cords of attachment that could have attached to you during your sessions. And I would say specifically invoke special protection for your throat area. Kim's feeling what you were feeling for.
I hate it for her because it's awful.
That's okay.
Just take a minute to breathe. Don't worry. I understand.
Whatever high being of light that you feel most guided to work with for extra protection for your throat chakra. And if you feel so inclined to wear a crystal that resonates at the vibration of the throat chakra, that will also give you a little bit more protection, as well as some of the grounding crystals in your office space and in your home environment, just for that extra layer of protection. But you are safe. It's just a little nefarious attachment that's just trying to get you to not bring that wisdom of the ages through.
Well, that's not going to work for me. So they can just, they're not stopping this train.
No, we know that. we definitely know that.
Very good. So how is that looking now? Because I could feel the energy coming through, and especially lighting up my back right there where I feel energy the strongest. Has that been released?
It looks really good.
Very good.
Bright blue. That throat chakra is nice and calibrated.
Beautiful. Anything else? Any other attachments or implants, or while we're here?
We're just scanning the body.
Thank you.
We don't see anything else at this time. We're going to ask Archangel Michael to cut all cords of attachment for you. Anything that doesn't serve to be cut. And we're going to ask Archangel Raphael to come in and fill you up with his healing green ray of light. If there's any holes or tears that resulted from cutting the cords in your energetic body.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Are there any messages that my guides would like to bring forward since they're here with us today?
Your grandfather is here, and he just wants to say that he is very proud of the work that you're doing, and he's not going to let anything get in the way of your mission. That's what he's here for.
I feel that very strongly. I love him very much.
He loves you very much.
Thank you. Are there any final messages that Kim's guides would like to bring through for her? Anything that she needs to know?
Just that the new guides are going to show their presence a little bit more. One of them is a friend of hers who passed a few years back. So she realized that earlier in the session. And she will feel that presence very strongly going forward. And to just be mindful of that so it doesn't frighten her in any way. We don't think it's going to frighten her in any way, but just to be mindful that that presence is going to be very strong. And she's okay with it. He knows that's what she wanted. So it's just giving it some time for that connection to get really strong. But he will be one of her main guides going forward. Her grandfather is training him. So
I love how this works.
It's a very interesting relationship, and how all of us become guides and learn how to do this and interact with those we love that are still here.
Wonderful. And I know that's a question too that I hear as we transition into fifth dimension and higher states of consciousness, we'll be able to connect and interact with our loved ones in a more physical way. Do you see that happening sooner rather than later?
We're going to leave that with the humans, and we say it's up for you to determine the rate of your shift and ascension. You have to do this united. So the faster you unite, the faster all these amazing things that are on the timeline for you will come into your existence.
Wonderful. Any final messages today, or are we complete?
We feel we are complete today.
Beautiful. I feel like I could keep going with a million questions, but I will let Kim come back. I just want to say thank you so much to the angels who assisted us in the beginning for the healing. Thank you to Kim's newbie guides. Thank you to those in Spike Up for joining us again, and any other guides who were here, my guides included. We love you so much, and we thank you for joining us today.
We love you as well.